Hi, welcome back. Validation and anger. Validation is when someone acknowledges our thoughts, feelings, experiences, or concerns as a real important. People are going to agree with us or disagree with us. And that doesn't mean that there's no validation there, especially if they don't agree with us. And our feelings and thoughts are important, and it's the way we come across. Anger is the visible emotion of something else. So, and when the validation is missing, you feel ignored, rejected, invisible. And that's where things start to go wrong. You can feel ignored, rejected, and that. And then it goes further, and you start saying things in your head where you're trying to validate that you're being ignored, where we do get ignored and we do get rejected, and sometimes we are invisible to especially people that we care about, family, friends. But it's really important not to let that become your story of how you are, who you are, right? Because those feelings can transform into the anger very, very quickly. And anger is a protective emotion. And underneath the anger is more hidden emotions, where we are hurt and frustrated, raging, especially if it's an ongoing thing. If people consistently don't validate us, and that's just answering us, that's listening to us. And people may not have the right solution for us, but just to be there and listen. And it comes back to us how we interact with that, how we talk to ourselves about handling the rage and the rejection. But yes, it is hard after so many years or so many times of feeling these emotions that anger builds up. And when it builds up, you're just on a blow up. So it's up to us, if we're feeling these underlying emotions, to control them and not let our brains run away with us, which happens in the relationships when we don't feel validated by our partners. It's and it happens so quickly, and it only might take 2 or 3 times, and then you start to raise your voice, and then what you're trying to discuss is gone. It's gone because you're just trying to talk over each other, and that, and you're repeating yourself, and Because if someone comes at us, even talking, well, of course, well, everybody's going to be defensive. So you're best off to start a conversation, depending on what the conversation is, starting it in a different way, especially if you've tried the conversation one way and it's not working. You just end up arguing. But you've also got to remember that we have to learn to listen, and listen not just with our ears, with our bodies as well. And body language is a big part of it. If you're there like this, that's a defensive move. You've already defending yourself about what's happening. If you're relaxed, shoulders down, looking at the person's eyes, you'll be surprised how they can quickly, resume their anger, but it's going to keep you calm as well. With your relationships, holding resentment is, you're hanging on to something that's not really worth hanging on to. What you're trying to figure out in a conversation, you shouldn't be hanging on to. If they've done something really, really bad, well, that's up to the individual. I'm talking about playing up and all that sort of stuff. If you get hit, that's a whole different ball game of, are you willing to stay there or not? But we have to hold back on that, and holding resentment, the anger's up there. All right. At work, everybody goes through this. As long as you're doing a good job, you don't care what other people think of you. All right. You just don't care about what people think, say about you. You are who you are, and you can only change how you do that. All right. Now, everybody in the world feels undervalued, but it's not what we can get out of something, it's what we can put into it. And how does that make us feel? Because it's not about them out there, it's about us. And can we feel valued in ourselves? Well, of course we can. Especially if you're doing a good job, and that job could be anything. Well, not being appreciated is, it hurts more in a family situation, more so than a company situation. Now, if your ideas are being dismissed and ignored, find a different way of communicating it. All right? Because no boss wants to hear that there's something wrong. They want to hear why it's wrong, what can be done about it, and how much it's going to cost to fix it. That's what they want to know. And that goes for every business. You go to a manager and just say, oh, there's something wrong. They don't care. They will dismiss it. Go to them with, this is wrong, this is how we can fix it, and this is, so it doesn't happen again. And then you might get ignored. Family and personal relationships. This is where this is where it all starts. And I can tell you now that most adults don't listen properly to their children. So when the children grow up, they've already started a picture in their mind how it is, how it should be, and it just rolls on from there. And, like being criticised, it might not be being criticised, it's how you could do something a bit better, and we have to face that in that way, that we're being guided to do something better, not just being criticised. Oh, it's no good. Don't do it that way. It's like finding different ways to do things, putting it to a positive instead of a negative. Being ignored is the biggest one, especially in children, young adults, and it carries on. And then when you get to an adult, you're still following those same patterns and the same self-thinking. And if we just reframe it and go, oh, they're not criticising me, they're actually trying to help me to do better or do things a little bit different. I know for a fact that the computers aren't what I used to. I have to learn to do it again. But I'm sitting here learning how to do it again. And I'll tell you now, this one's a little bit different than what I've done on the last one. But, so I'm self-criticising, I'm self-judging, going, doing it this way, doing it that way. Right? But that's on me. I'm doing it because I want to make it better for you, not for me. I want to make it better for you if I can get this thing to work. Learning self-validation is what I just said then. I'm learning to criticize myself. I'm learning to judge myself, to do things better. Now, if you see this and you go, yeah, that was crap, well, I've got to figure out how to make it better for you. But how does it feel for you to do something better, to criticize yourself, even cooking? All right, if you cook, how can you make it better? How can you make that design draft a little bit better where it does stand out? How can you express it a little bit better than what you did the last time? That's what it is. It's not to think, oh, they didn't like it, No, it's like, how can I make this better? How can I stand out? Sometimes we want to stand out, other times we don't. Now you can ask yourself, are my feelings real? Yes, they are. All right? Do I care about what other people think of me? No, I don't. I do my thing. I am me. And that's it. Does my experience matter? Yes, it does. You know, like we've travelled a lot. So we've got the experience of travelling and seeing other people and seeing different ways of doing things. And I'm all open for new learning. You know, I've been a hypnotherapist for 23 years. I'm still learning new ways of doing it. I will never stop because I can put it back to you guys for a better experience. So when you self-judge, self-criticize, use it for a good thing, all right? And you can change it and do better. This is what self-talk, you know, and the self-talk is the one where it's taken so long to get to the point of where you are that now you've got to fight it to get back, to go back to where you were, to where you can say, oh, they're not criticising me, they're not judging me, they're helping me do a bit better. Or to the point where your judgment doesn't worry me. I like what I've done. So that's it. That's the best I can do. I do that for drawing or colouring, I'm colourblind, so I don't colour. So what colours for me, even on the computer, I just ask someone what colour is this, so I make sure. That's it. Colour scheme, I like it. I don't care if you like it. Sorry to say that, but that's how I've been able to check that self-talk and not take rejection badly. And if a person rejects me, that's their problem, not mine, as long as I haven't done anything to them. But that is, you know, it's happened a lot in my life where people have moved away or been, you know, rejected. That's fine. You know, people can go their own way as long as they're happy and as long as I'm happy. Now, when you're doing, to build assertiveness is not to raise your voice. It's to be stern, to be a little bit aggressive, but not angry aggressive. So there's a difference. Speak clearly, and especially when you're in with your partner or your family. Like, stand up for yourself, but not with the aggression, not exploding, not, you know, waving your hands around like I am, but to be assertive and state what you want to say, state what you need. Maintain respect for yourself, but also for other people. Now, when you do it, sometimes you're going to upset them. As long as you're not hurting them, putting them down, things like that, then fine. And if they're doing it to you, turn around and walk out. That is the simplest and easy way of dealing with it. And yes, I have walked out on my wife a few times, and she's done it to me as well. I don't take it in a bad way. It's just like, we're getting hot-headed. We need to go clear our heads and come back to it. So When you're feeling angry, ask yourself, what happened? Alright? How did I get to this point? Did I do it myself, or did someone else do it to me? What did I make that meant about me? So, the judgment. Why did I take that judgment on? Why did I take that criticisation on? What? Turn it around. How can I make that better? How can I take that judgment, take that anger, and turn it into something good? Alright? Feeling dismissed, or did I feel dismissed or invalidated? This happens a lot in relationships where a partner will just dismiss you. Now, the one thing that we do is when we get home, or when we get home from work, we get, depending on the time, we get the kids sorted, we get dinner sorted, we go outside and we talk. Right? We've been doing it for years. Kids have moved out, we still do it. We still sit outside, we still talk to each other about everything and anything, because we've got that relationship now where we can talk to each other about it. And we know each other. When we are getting angry, it's time to walk away. And yes, it still happens, but we control it. We don't suppress it, we control it. What is the underlying emotion of anger? So when you're angry, what is the underlying emotion? What happened? How did it happen? Alright? And what do I need right now? You might have a glass of water. You might just need to walk away for a few minutes. But this is the self-judgment, self-criticizing yourself so you can be better when these situations come back up. And they will. They haven't stopped now, they're not going to stop in the future. So, thank you for listening and being here, and we'll see you on the next one.